Chapter 12 of An Actor's Work. Inner psychological drives, the fundamental driving forces, or the generals, as he puts it, that guide the troops of the system into action. If you wanted to adopt a less militaristic term, you might call it the flame that lights the blue touch paper. The three fundamental drives that Stanislavski identifies are feeling, mind/intellect, and will. He begins by drawing attention to the fact that the fundamental driving force, the fundamental tool that we as actors incorporate in our work, is feeling. Feeling is the goal, but as Stanislavski says, feeling is very hard to galvanize. It is very hard to engage in such a way that you can make feeling happen at will. Now, certainly when Stanislavski was writing, that was very true. There are a number of somatic and biological techniques that I use in my teaching that can engage students and actors very quickly to stimulate strong emotions safely. But this doesn't feel like the right platform to discuss those. And so I'll stay as far as I can with Stanislavski's analysis of the process. One of the ways that we might stimulate the appropriate feeling is through engaging the intellect to bear on the problems of acting. The third element that Stanislavski introduces is will. Will is the driving force of mind, but here also of body, to make things happen, to make a change. Stanislavski uses the term will/feeling, will feeling here. And I would translate this, maybe controversially, into the notion of desire. Desire is a force of will that is driven by emotion and feeling. That is, we want, we desire, we need, we imagine, we think, we desire. Without desire, there's no drama. Without desire, there are no problems. Without desire, there are no mistakes. There's no controlling, there's no forcing, there's no pushing, there's no cajoling. And these are the elements of drama. And drama is about human beings making terrible mistakes. And so what we have to do is engage fully in the willful desire of our character. And to do that, we need to galvanize thought and feeling as one essence. Otherwise, we are playing actions. That is, we are thinking about our actions and demonstrating them. And so the phrase play your action is quite often a very distracting one for an actor, because playing an action is actually only something that a character does when they are being quite coldly intellectual and manipulative. That is, they have made the decision to play this. It's still an action in that context, but much of what we do is instinctive. It is emotionally driven, it is energetically driven, and we end up getting caught up in our action. So it is a better thing to ask, I think, are you in action? The actor may engage in action and then walk away and say, okay, what was that? And analyze it and make a note and then be able to reproduce it, and using verbs and all the techniques of building action. But that task or that action is completely devoid of feeling and energy without the galvanizing energy of mind, will, of desire, of feeling thought. Stanislavski clarifies this by using the phrase appraisal and representation. Now, this is really an important idea to get your head around. It's actually a very accurate observation of the way the mind works in general daily life. These elements, will, feeling, appraisal, and representation as mind, come together as a matrix. One element will stimulate the other, and another will stimulate the other. So you need to be aware in yourself, if possible, as well as in your practice, as to where you're going from one of these elements. Let's look at appraisal, for example. So we appraise the situation. Now, you might have had an idea of something you want, and so you appraise the idea. Shall I get it? Oh, I'm hungry. Okay, desire for bun comes up. Bun. I want bun. Should I have the bun because actually I'm on a diet? There's a process here. Or actually, if the raw desire takes over, nom nom nom. So There's the image of the bun. There's the feeling, there's the taste, there's a kind of drive in the body for the bun, and then there's the thought about whether, yum, I'm having a bun, or no, bun's bad. So then you're involved in the appraisal. And let's say at the end of a day, you might come back from work and you've done something really stupid, as we all do at some point, something embarrassing, and you come back, and if you're a certain kind of character, you have a certain kind of self-talk and self-appraisal where you say, God, I messed up. This is awful. I can't face anybody. Oh my God, the way so and so looked at me. And then you have an image. There's a thought, there's an image, and then you're appraising that image. You're appraising that image of their look to you, and then you have a story, and you start saying, God, I'm useless. I shouldn't be there. I can't. Everyone knows I'm a fraud. Blah blah blah. Alternatively, a different character comes away and goes, I just said this thing, and I just overreacted. God, they're such a, you know. And then you look at their face in your mind, you have this kind of image, you praise it, and you realize, they're so stupid, they don't understand me, I'm better than them. And then you have a different element of self-talk. Now, both of those create a different desire, because tomorrow I'm going to hide, I'm just going to do my job. Tomorrow I'm going to show that I don't care. Then you're engaged in action. And there's a desire to act upon the image in your mind, or there is a process of appraisal that engages with the images and your desire. These elements interact symbiotically. You might kickstart the process by getting yourself into a state of mind where a feeling occurs. And as I said, there are techniques for that. But you might just monitor how you feel under certain conditions. Think of when you've had been in an extreme situation. You might have felt terror. Oh, something drops down from your heart, or something opens, or something closes. But that feeling, in combination with your understanding of the given circumstances through the character's eyes, gives you a set of appraisals, a set of images, a set of ideas from which to go. So let's say you're feeling really terrible because your partner's splitting up with you. You were together for a long time, it was perfect, but you've been arguing, it's all gone wrong. And you remember when you first met. Now, the image that your mind goes to is maybe something that's happened a long time ago. And you're using your intellect, maybe your mind, to make that choice to go there. So you try it. And then you have an image of when you first met, when you were when you're in love, when you're not arguing. And then in the middle of the dialogue you're sharing now, you're comparing, appraising. You're comparing the way you feel now and the things you're saying now to the way you felt then. And suddenly, new feeling, new emotion is going to come. It's going to emerge. And from that new emotion, from that drive, there's going to be a drive either to make those days come back, which is a driving desire, or to push this pain away from you, and that turns into a task, into an action, or to really demand justice, whatever else. That is the will feeling kicking in, and all of those decisions could be correct for the situation, for the moment. But if you look at this, the appraisal, the reflection, the image, the thought, the desire are all interacting with each other. And on the surface of this, on the surface of these driving forces, come the actions, use of imagination, use of attention, objects of attention. All these things start to sort of play. So these are the galvanizing forces: appraisal, representation, will, feeling. You have a representation in the mind, you appraise it, and it turns into some form of will. You have a desire for something, you imagine yourself in the future living that life, and so that's a representation. Then you appraise, shall I do this, shall I do that, how do I go, oh, it's never going to happen. There's a reaction that might lead to a new task, might lead to a new action. It might lead to a state of being or to an inner monologue.